All right, everybody, welcome to my favorite show, Round 2, Episode 1. We have the illustrious Sandy Papavero.
Papavero, yes.
Okay, good, I got that right. Woo! So, this is our inaugural episode here. We are going to, I'm sure, have lighting changes over time and stuff like that, but this is our first iteration of the set here. And again, we're very happy to have Sandy. We have Donna in the background, our producer, keeping tabs of everything. And Sandy brought us a special gift.
A little Prosecco for the inauguration of Burn the Blueprint Radio, right? And as close as I could get to my name.
There we go. And I said, should we pappy it? Pappy, get it. Anyway,
that's great. Really, that was fun.
That was a bad joke. Okay.
Little pie.
Let's pappy it. All right, here we go.
Well, we should record this moment.
Yeah.
We are.
I mean, off camera.
What do you? No.
Okay,
This
okay.
is.
We're staying
Why
on
would you
set.
record it off? Wait, that doesn't make sense. Let's record it off camera. All right.
Ready?
Here we go.
Are we doing a sign of the cross and being grateful and thankful?
I don't know, but I guess
The ceiling.
don't. It's gonna
pop in my
go.
face.
It's gonna go.
Do it yourself. Put your hand over.
Hey!
There we go. Congratulations.
Woohoo! What's the name of the show?
Burn the Blueprint Radio.
Burn the Blueprint Radio. And of course, we're getting a call here.
Nice. With the interruption of the phone.
Mute it.
Hey, Dave, we're recording our first episode. Can I call you back?
Yeah, you suck. I do a podcast. You don't even call me. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh.
nice. Jeez. You're probably going to be editing this, so it'll be funny to see you.
I'm not even hear about this. You don't say nothing. You don't tell me nothing.
I'll tell you everything, Dave. Don't worry.
I'm glad I'm not married to you. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
You should be glad, Dave.
Call me when you can.
All right. Donna said you should be glad you're not married to me.
It's a job. Another full-time job.
All right.
That's
I'll
it.
talk to you later.
All right, see you, bye. Okay, here we go. Ching, ching, ching-a-da-ching.
Shin done.
Donna.
I'm done.
Cheers.
All right, inaugural. Cheers.
Cheers.
And, only 11:21 a.m. Like, this is absolutely perfect.
There is a reason behind it. This is exciting. It's been in the making for quite a while now, 20 years for me, to talk about what we can do for major impact, and I think it's worth celebrating.
Yeah, so let's go exactly there. So how this started was I met you at CEO Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Sandy was a trainer at CEO Warrior and is no longer there at the moment, but and probably won't be.
No.
That was it's no longer there. Period. And we wanted to start this show and create something that someone hopefully can, anyone can benefit from. And so how did the show idea come about from your perspective?
Oh man, well, there was so much, but really from you. I mean, I wanted to start a podcast, and you and I have worked together. I was fortunate enough to work with you while you were taking film from stage, more or less, and really watching how we affect people from stage, right? So you were thinking, wow, this is impactful information that we should be bringing to the masses. And being that I wasn't there anymore, how can we still get the message out? And then I kind of pivot. You and I have had many conversations about how I wound up here.
Right.
So I wanted to also be able to give back to the people who gave to me and helped me along through my journey. I think that's super important, and part of our message was always like, what can we do to give back while we're creating impact? Because everybody has a message. Someone has a block. Someone has a reason why they're not living their purpose. One of my really good friends always says there's someone out there doing more with less.
Right.
And I think it's super important that we concentrate on what does that really mean how do we get stuck in life? How do we overcome? How do we become resilient? This is all about confidence and clarity in your mission. So you and I have had many discussions about what my mission was, where I've been in my life to where I am right now, and how can we posture people to go out and do something for themselves, and that will align with what their true purpose is.
Awesome. So my next question has two reasons for it. And the question is, how did we come to the radio show format, so to speak, right? We're going to have people call in, we're going to have people come in as guests, and we're going to do a lot of things for you and your business on the spot, right? So tell us about what your mission is as far as what you want to provide to people and how you want to provide it, right? I think you said something to the effect of you don't want to do 6 months, you don't want to do a year with people, something like that, right?
Well, I mean, I do. My point being is that we can impact people immediately. So maybe I can go into a little bit of my history and who I am. That might help out to kind of give a background of where I was and along my journey, how the stars have aligned and why we're here. So I had originally young in high school, my father was a financial advisor, but he also built homes. So he decided that he wanted to start flipping houses, and I was his right-hand man. I was in construction for a long time with him on that side, as well as we had a financial services company together, and he made me cold call. So I started getting into sales very early on. And then being the entrepreneur that I am, I said, Dad, I think it'd only be fair if I shared in some of the commission. I am the one getting you the appointments. Obviously, this is internet.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, go get your insurance license. So I was excited about that opportunity. And we did really well together. And then on the side, we were flipping houses. So I learned, HVAC. I learned the foundation, the structure of a home. I learned plumbing, and I learned how to paint a lot of painting. That was child labor. And then throughout college, I held down other jobs. I always had 2-3 jobs at a time. And my dad was great, but I wanted to go out and do more and see what else was out there in the world. So I started working for a company post-college, actually during college. At the same time, I was at Rutgers, living at Rutgers, and also working full-time. Probably the only one in my whole apartment building that was not just a student, and I was working. So it was good because it was insightful to go into a company that was under $1 million, be such a major player, and learn from mentors the 2 brother-in-laws who left Wall Street, and they created a $65 million company. So I had played every role in the game, and I fell in love with business and the understanding of how to create that culture. So it became everything as a foundational element. And my dad was great. He's no longer with us. However, his leadership was not what was going to get me to the next level. Right? Working one-on-one with him, it's still family. And I went into this as a young kid. I remember Mom saying, you're going to take this job. They don't even have benefits. Right? And I was like, God,
With your father?
No, from my first company that was, they were a growing organization. And as we started to grow, I rose up throughout the company and became pretty much an integral part of their growth, and started developing, client relation departments. I was inside sales. I was customer service manager. I drove the trucks.
Wow.
Right? I wanted to make sure that I understood every facet of how the wheel was spinning and how we all affected each other. And we were selling the commodity items. We were not just a service company. We had products, but they were commodity. So what made us different than everyone else in the industry, and how did we set ourselves apart from the competition? And it all came down to our people. And we really had probably the most amazing culture. That is why we hit 65 million and 5 locations. It was all about the people. They took care of us. They trained us. They invested in us. They wanted us to not just grow in the company, but they were setting us up for future growth. And to me, I just went to work every day, whether it was 12, 14-hour days, but you smiled the whole time. I mean, I'd pack in the warehouse, sweating my ass off, but you didn't care because you were growing and learning at the same time. And, one of them has passed on, but the other one, like, I'll be forever grateful for that experience. And then, 3 kids in, I started running our family business, went to go work for Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes. I did sales coaching and coaching for that organization, met some major players, and they were just some of the most incredible mentors, obviously. It's Tony Robbins. But Chet Holmes was dynamic.
Right.
So, you learn resilience along the way. You learn rejection. You learn pivot. You get to understand what people's mission is. And what I found was when I was clarifying, who I was to each company and in this space and working with other businesses, because really I had such a great pleasure to be able to every day come in contact with other companies that were struggling, and that's why they were calling in, was to get, what 12 steps do you need to take in order to become a successful business. And it helped develop me so much. I mean, obviously everything is, part of your toolbox. And working for Tony, I became really interested in how the mind worked. And that became the power of persuasion, and on the sales side, and not just selling, but really getting what people needed and what they were missing. And I think part of my core energy, strategy, brilliance is that I can see what other people are blind to. And that was just, I guess, a very eye-opening time for me. I went on to open a bakery. I still ran our family funeral homes. I had 3 little kids. And then I went back to Wall Street and started back in finance. But I still maintained all of those different positions because my mind works differently than others. We'll get into a little bit of that later. So I think that, I always knew that I had a purpose that was going to be bigger than where I was at the time. But my first and foremost responsibility was to my family. My kids are everything to me. And, the balance, and I don't use work-life balance because I think it's an impossibility.
Yeah.
It's just, how do you show them that you can still have a family and still go out and earn a career, and earn money and keep the wheels spinning. And that really, it worked out well because I have some really great kids that are entrepreneurs and management and just thriving in life. And I wanted to also be present. So this was a good interject. The bakery we sold, that was too much work. I mean, we weren't even supposed to be as involved. But again, you're going to have your failures. You're going to have your successes. You're going to watch some of your friends do amazing things. And how do you root them on? And then what do you take and what can I impart in others? And that was always my mission. So I look at mission and vision and purpose first. And then you can create anything from that. And I learned that early on because everything was about culture to me. So I feel like that kind of developed me for what was next. And then I went into the restoration world as I was getting a divorce. Boo. Not the restoration, but I wanted to know more about a field I had never been in. But still, you take the same principles that worked in every other organization, and that was the systems, the strategies, the processes. But for me, it's always been about the people and the creative energy, and who are you hiring, and how do you bring them on, and how do you articulate exactly what it is that you do. And we'll get into a little bit of that when we start to talk about Burn the Blueprint concept. And so I went into restoration, and I had, again, some interesting times in there. We mentored about 60 different companies during that, transitioned back to consulting during it, and then you kind of wake up one day and you say, well, what's next? Oh, and then as I was still working during that time on Wall Street, I wound up having a 4th baby. So that was really fun. He's amazing. It was fun though. A little throw in at 41 years old. So now you have 3 girls, you have a later in life child, and you just really try to clarify what am I doing next, and what, with intentionality. So I went to go work for myself for about a year or 2 during COVID, and then had an opportunity to go work for CEO Warrior, where I met some amazing people, and just dealt with so many clients that have impacted me so much. And a lot of my Burn the Blueprint mission is because of the trades, because of the people that I had met and where they were struggling. So we'll pause there on that part, and then we can we'll work into the Burn the Blueprint and how that evolved
Okay.
into the
Awesome.
mission we're in right now.
Right. Okay. So, in terms of guests for the show and who you're going to impact, with what you do, who would you say is the ideal person to work with for you? Is it someone who owns the company? Or maybe it's a manager? Maybe it's is it a certain department within the company, or like what? Who do you want to have on the show?
So really, my ideal client for me in my consulting is anyone who's high performance and is looking to create an impact, whether they're a leader, whether they're the founder, or whether they're a sales professional. Performance means something different to everyone. But what I found, especially working at CEO Warrior in the trades, was that their identity was attached to their truck. Their identity was attached to their profession, so to speak. So now they go in to start a business and they don't know who that owner's mindset is. They don't even know who they are without their tools in their hand. And then we were trying to give them strategies, but through my psychotherapeutic coaching side, which, I went in to get 12 certifications in the last 10 years, and really that is, I think, the magic of what I bring to the table is the psychotherapeutic meets the strategy. Because without working on who we are, identity-wise, we can't shift in.
Right.
But I also work with a lot of people with ADHD traits, and that can mean anything to most people, because it's not about where your weaknesses are, it's about playing to your strengths. So we have to find out what that means. And Burn the Blueprint was created about not bringing on our trauma from generations. It's about where we are right now. And we have so much misdiagnosis in our country because people they're not doing well in a certain area. So right away, we're labeling them. And then we're medicating them. But what I found was throughout my coaching, and a lot of my coaching has been people who have survived, I'm not sure if you're familiar with adverse childhood experiences. It's called ACEs, and there's a test for it. So as you walk through childhood trauma, and as your brain develops, people hold the trauma at a cellular level. And I don't want to go too deep into neuroscience on this episode because we're going to do lots of it. What they can't get past is how you're conditioned. So we're not just products of our environment, we're also obviously products of our DNA, and your body can actually hold 14 generations of DNA. So you're fighting against the grain as you're growing. And if there's been adverse childhood experiences, abuse, neglect, abandonment, we can go on and on, your brain will condition differently than someone who doesn't have that. And again, abuse can mean different things to different people and how it impacts them. However, it creates a neurodivergence. And now we're trying to help you overcome with strategy, but you can't hold it.
Right. It's like putting a, for lack of a better, only the newer Macs, for example, or newer computers with the better hardware can handle the better software, right? So if you're trying to accomplish something, from what you're saying, it sounds like what you're saying, to try to accomplish something from a strategy standpoint, when the hardware or the basic functions of who you are and how you operate aren't there, right? You're not going to...
Absolutely. And I've spent so much... So your brain is a computer, right? You have your subconscious mind, you have your conscious mind, and 5% of your mind is conscious thoughts. So all of it stems from your subconscious programming, where you aren't really understanding why you think the thoughts you think.
Right.
So we're not on a level that you're not understanding how it's impacting you. All you know is that your thoughts are blurred. You're constantly in a state of overwhelm. And for me, I never fit in a box. And I'm not saying it's just because I have an edgy, rebellious side. It's also because of the way I think. And I think differently. I do. And most people would say, if they know me, that I have ADHD traits. I forget the small things. I work in subsections. I don't conform very easily. I'm a complete rule breaker. It's not because I'm going out there like I want to be different. it's my brain and how it's been wired and conditioned. So in order to have performance, you have to understand how to control the behavior of the people that are on your team. Or as a sales professional, I was the most disorganized salesperson. However, I could build a following very quickly because I know how to impact people. I know how to build rapport, build relationships. And that's why I studied neuroscience. My certification in neuroscience came because I need to understand my own brain. Because if you have a weak leader, which I've had plenty of opportunity to be in that space, they're looking at SOPs and KPIs when they should be looking at how do you function. And if you're good at your job and what you do, you're not trying to control the people on your team. You're working with them. And you're understanding their strengths and weaknesses, and not just from a disc profile, from really understanding how do I think and how do I work best. And then obviously I do subconscious reprogramming or rewiring, a whole different level. But some of what I'm doing right now is creating certifications and licensing so that I can help other leaders to work with people who, and I don't want to use the word neurodivergent, I want to use challenged. I think we're all challenged in our own way. However, that's my brilliance.
Right.
And I put together a framework that helps people move through that. So it's not that we're trying to change my brain. I am wired differently, but I know how to help other people who they're like me. Right? People say it's squirrel brain, or, oh, you forgot, the small things. Well, they don't matter to me. But what happens is most people stay stuck in that zone because they don't fit. They don't conform. They're not rule followers. SOPs, to me, I understand they need to be measured. Everything in business has to be measured and managed.
Right.
But if I know how to create someone from that standpoint of where their baseline is, then I can get the most out of them. And that all comes from really definitive identity work. And that is something that I'm so passionate about, because why are we trying to change people to fit into the mold of us as leaders,
right,
or founders of companies? And you know what really is interesting to me is we spend thousands of dollars on training, sales training. I've been in sales for 20 years. I've trained thousands of people in sales. And at this point, I've consulted with over 1,000 people at least. And we're looking for performance out of salespeople, but yet we're not looking at not traditional formatted sales training. It doesn't work. Everybody doesn't fit in that conformed box. So how do we play to people's strengths and then manage from the numbers? But everyone has a baseline. Everyone has that pattern interrupt. Everyone has, and I don't want to use the term limiting beliefs because I believe it's so overused today. But if we can really understand how do you work and how do you function, we can get the best out of people by understanding their identity and then creating and infusing their new habits that go along with the identity. Most people don't have a purpose. They have no idea what they're even doing. They don't know what they're doing with their money. They never thought about their dream life. And I have some funny stories about that. However, when you start to really come in contact with what your true purpose is, who do you have to become in order for your purpose to come to fruition, then we can start to take you for who you are and then create a framework around how to get you to where you say you want to go. But most people don't even understand that concept, or they don't ever thought about it.
Right.
A dream life? Oh, yeah, I want to buy a house. I want to have a couple kids. How do we get your subconscious to follow that? You don't know. We spend more time knowing the directions of where we're going on a trip than we do with our entire lives.
Right.
So there's like all these foundational, it's a layer. But like I said, I think Burn the Blueprint was really brought in because you don't have to stay in that space.
Right.
So burning the blueprint means burning who you once were to really embody who you're becoming.
Right. Now, is it okay? Let's say I'm a business owner. I've got 10 people, 50 people, 100 people, whatever it is. Are you? Is it just? Which I feel like I kind of know the answer, but I want to ask you anyway. Is it just changing me as a leader, to, of course, that will be better. That'll make me better. That'll make the business better if I change for the better, of course. But how much of it is am I going to have to, if at all, learn what you're talking about to manage the people that I have on, working in my company? You know what I'm saying? Like, am I going to have to improve myself, which is always good, which of course is always good, but then also, do I, from working with you, get some kind of understanding as to, how to use the strategy that improved me for my people?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's hard, easy. That's typically that's 90% of the plan is that, or,
I mean, there's a crossover, and I feel as if, I'm hired individually with salespeople, but also with the leadership. But I think the founders, we just like when we're conditioned in our homes. So we say things our parents said. We carry traditions our parents carried. We carry their trauma. We carry their relationship. How many of us know how to curate a really great marriage because we learned it from our parents, or vice versa? So everything that we do, I always talk about, nature versus nurture. It's the same thing for a founder. So if you own a company and you're in overwhelm and you're, have some kind of tendencies to be stressed or you're disorganized, your people are going to mimic your behavior. Not only will they mimic your behavior, but you're setting the guideline to what you find acceptable. So if you come in every day and you're overperforming, or you don't know how to regulate your emotions, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I train and teach is really how to regulate your nervous system, because I find that most people are completely chaotic. And if you're chaotic, then your team is going to become chaotic, right? You have a dirty house, a lot of times you're going to be cluttered as an adult. Or you go so opposite that you control your surroundings based on what you weren't able to control as a child. I mean, there's going to be so many episodes with these conversations as they branch out. There's so many things that I can go down paths, and that's what I'll tend to do. And what I think is, if you work with the founder and really get them to help regulate their nervous system, regulate their energetic force, what are they really great at? How do we hire around what they're not? The overwhelm dissipates, and then your team becomes more focused on what the mission is for you. Most founders don't have a mission, a vision, or a purpose. Right? They just started because they could. Like a lot of them throughout the time said, well, I was doing this work and decided that I'd go off on my own. I wanted to make the money for myself, or I wanted to change. I didn't like the way my boss did this or did that. But this goes further than academia. You go, especially in the trades, you come in and they have no training for business. So what happens? You don't know your numbers, right? You don't understand operations. You don't know how to hire, who to hire, because you never learn the foundational elements in order to create a company that works in a synergistic fashion. So we've got to change you first, because monkey see, monkey do. Right. But you will affect your team. And how many people leave because of a manager or a founder? They don't know how to iterate what needs to get done on a day-to-day basis, but then they put the gauntlet down. You're not doing your job, you're not bringing enough money in. They don't know. Then they can't even articulate their value because they're not in alignment with each other. So everyone on the team really needs to be touched, and the person who answers the phone, it's the first form, right? How does your message get out there in the marketing world? And it sounds simple, but when you ask owners and founders, who are you? And why are you different than anyone else in your industry?
They can't tell you.
They can't tell you.
Right.
So working with the founder first is essential, and then everything else follows. Because if I don't understand his mission and his purpose, or what he wants his dream life to look like, I can't align everyone else in a dream manager concept. And again, there's layers to it. So that's one component. But the first component is, what do we have to overcome that's holding you back? And then that's where the strategy comes in. So that's why I'm very different in my space, because again, I blend psychotherapeutic coaching with strategy. And then not just go in and say, okay, everybody's going to sell and we're going to use this as how you overcome an objection. But people if you have something and everyone has something that they're overcoming, it makes it twice as difficult to be able to overcome an objection when you don't know really who you are inherently. Your self-worth, you're overperforming constantly, you're pushing. And then you have burnout. And we wonder why we're burning our people out. It's just because we have lack of alignment. We have lack of purpose. And, that's really why I study what I study and why I think I affect people the way that I do.
Is there, an ideal industry, or are there industries that of course, I would imagine any business owner in any industry could be helped by everything you're saying, but does what you do lend itself more to one versus another? I mean, you mentioned the trades a lot, but that's maybe only because that's what your background is. But does it apply to everybody? Who narrowing it down? Who's more of an ideal client than another?
I feel as if it could be used for anyone, but I really do. My strategies work most effectively with the service-based industries, not at product development, not someone who's selling a widget. And you say about the trades, however, coming from financial planning, what I noticed was that as I was doing succession planning, people who owned even $20 million companies, they didn't embrace money the same way that people in their organization did. And what I found was that most people, they have money blocks. So if let's say I do succession planning right now for you, and we get you, all good for what's next. However, you run into hard times. The first thing you're going to abandon is your strategy. You're going to abandon maybe your life insurance that was covering your key employees. You're going to abandon because you haven't learned how to develop a healthy relationship with money. So that's across the board. I don't think there's really one industry that plays any different in that game.
Right.
Now, I'm going to go, as far to saying I've worked with people who have, MBAs, PhDs, and then I've worked with people who barely got out of high school. But the philosophies are all the same. Just because you were able to go to school and learn in that world doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be successful when you go out on the street. I was listening to an article. It was an article that was written, and he was describing the article, and he was talking last night about how conformed learning is. I mean, we live in a very conformed society where you go to school, this is your curriculum, this is what you need to regurgitate in order to get out. But it's theory. And it's really what they don't teach emotional regulation. They don't teach how to understand your nervous system. They don't teach you how to be able to have emotional intelligence. So they come out with theory, then they go to apply it, but they're a one-stop shop. And they don't know how to pivot. They don't know resilience. They have more breakdowns than people who have had to learn from a non-conformist standpoint. And I think that's what's most special. So I feel like I kind of gravitate more towards, the rule breakers and the little bit of the edgier, I did it my way people. And it has nothing to do with anyone who's had a well-formed education. It's just that conformity and that box that they put themselves in, their regulation, it's harder to regulate them.
Right.
And there's a book, it's called Barking Up the Wrong Tree. And they talk about how many, top 10 in every class and how many of them actually become millionaires. I think it was out of 600 that were tested, none.
Yeah, I actually, there was, I'm not going to mention names, but there was like a number 1 and number 2 in our high school class for the entire time we were there. And I met one of them who everyone thought, oh my God, he's going to be an engineer. He's going to be like,
sure.
Or he might even be an engineer, but whatever it was, it didn't translate, at least, so from what you're saying, it rings true for my experience, where they didn't, the number 1, I don't know whether the other one did, but, the one I met who everyone thought was going to be
wildly successful.
Yeah,
But what does that even mean,
That's
right?
true. What
Success
does it
means
mean?
different things to different
That's
people.
right. That's right.
And quite honestly, I think that, and I've had the pleasure of meeting so many wonderful people in my day, whether, it was Wall Street, I met some of the smartest people. However, when you're a one-trick pony and you don't know how to handle, you become less resilient. And, mental health is a really, big topic nowadays. Not that it hasn't always been, we just didn't give it so much, power and control. It's just lack of, like I said, it's lack of emotional intelligence and lack of the pivot, lack of the resilience. So the people that have had to come up from here to get out of high school and maybe they thought differently or they weren't as book smart as others, they've had to do things with an edge and they had to do things differently.
Right.
And I love you, Sydney. I'm going to talk about my second daughter, but it took me every ounce of energy to get her out of high school. She hated school, and so did I. I mean, I don't really remember studying, and my high school friends out there all know exactly what I'm talking about. And I didn't subscribe to it. And it's not that I couldn't, I just didn't find interest in it. None of it.
Right.
There were some classes I found interesting, but it didn't grab my attention. So, I'm going to space out in class. There's nothing that you're teaching me that's of interest. And my second daughter, she didn't go to college. She went to beauty school and she wound up opening her own salon at 21. And she's doing amazing. She didn't really think about it. She didn't overthink the process. She just said, I have this skill set. I'm really good at it. I'm going to go for it. Whereas I think today our parents put a lot of emphasis on where your child goes to school. They come out with a ton of debt, and then they really don't even know what their purpose is because they're still not teaching any of this in school.
Right.
I gather they never will because we've got to keep the middleman down, right? So that the ones can emerge. And I have some crazy successful friends that, blue collar or even white collar, but they didn't subscribe to what the straight path was. I mean, school was it wasn't hard for me. I could have done whatever I wanted. Everybody has a different level of what you would consider smart. And who said that that's the path?
Right.
So those are people that I think that align more with my mission, only because they went off and did something that most people never do. Right? They want to continue working for the 9 to 5. They want to get their hourly paycheck. For me, I love taking risks. I love going out there and saying F you to modern society.
Right.
And I think it's because you can create your own path. And why people don't do it is they just haven't been given the tools on both sides, the regulatory side for yourself, overcoming traumatic, whether it's a mother-father wound, abuse, all the inner child stuff we talk about, adverse childhood experience, and then the strategy. When you combine the two, now we can build momentum.
Right. Awesome. Well, I got a very good idea of
Oh boy.
who you are and what your mission is. Let's end this first episode with a very big if-then statement.
Okay.
So if you are fill in the blank, then reach out to us to come on the show. So fill in that blank of if you are. I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, if you're someone who is growing a business, growing a brand, and that could be a sales professional working for someone else because you are your brand, and you're recognizing that you're unable to articulate your vision or that you're lacking your own purpose, you're feeling burned out, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stuck, that is one category. If you're a founder who is looking for a new identity to attach their purpose to, that you know that your nervous system can't hold the space for what you're looking to create, that's someone that I would be willing to have on the show and be completely excited to coach. And the cool thing is that when you are if-then, we can make, because it is working in the subconscious mind, so whether you want to use hypnotherapy or parts integration or tapping or timeline therapy, this isn't traditional therapy.
Right.
We're not doing a 10-year talk to me about, your moments at the dinner table. Yes, do we have to go back into the past to understand where you were and then understand where you're capable of going? Absolutely. However, we spend time there only so that we can align what's going to be who you're becoming. That's the only reason. So it happens, the shifts happen so much faster because I have an ability to go into your subconscious. So what would take maybe 5 years of therapy could happen in 6 weeks. We can do amazing things in 90 minutes. So people calling in and maybe giving me some insight, again, my energy is a very different energy. So because I have hypervigilance from my childhood, I use it to my advantage. So my intuition goes very deep when I'm on the call with someone, and I've been trained very differently. So I can affect change very quickly. And that's why we decided we wanted to do some live coaching. However, I also expect that the guests that we'll have on will be able to dive in a little bit deeper into their mind. And anyone who's worked with me knows that I'm unafraid to ask the hard questions. But it's really meant for impact. And why do you not want to walk away with as much impact as possible? So, and we have some really great people that are lined up that have had to overcome some kind of adversity. And they're going to tell their stories of how they didn't allow their mind to hold them back. And this is not about mindset. This isn't about life coaching. This is about psychotherapeutic transformation.
Interesting. Awesome. So I lied. I have one more last question.
Okay.
A little more, even it might broaden, someone that feels that they might not fit in the first answer.
Okay.
Like what are some challenges? So there's some common challenges with their business or personal life or whatever that, your method, your approach helps fix. So let's open it up. Is it financial? Is it leadership? Is it all of the above? Is it what are some struggles that the people you want to help might have?
Yeah. So besides what they're feeling in their nervous system, and most of us feel dysregulation. So it can come across as people are experiencing, again, they have a lot of fatigue or depression, or they know they want more out of life. They feel very stuck, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter if you're a leader or an entrepreneur. There's people that, they have performance issues. And I have clients that are making, $500,000 a year as employees that just know that that's not the course that they want to take, but they don't know how to get there. They don't know how to let them true essence of themselves emerge because no one ever let them do that because they were held back. And that comes a lot from the childhood experiences. Abandonment issues is a really big one, but a lot of times we're unafraid to look into the shadow of who we are in order to understand ourselves. And shadow work is a really big part of that.
We are afraid to.
We are afraid, right?
Yeah.
And pardon me. But Carl Jung always says, until you let the unconscious become conscious, you won't understand that it's even inside of you. So if you're feeling that you're trapped, you're feeling that you're at a loss for what's next. And when I talk to people, they just, and I don't want to say they become stoic, but they become, there's no passion in their lives. Right? Nothing lights them up. Nothing fuels them. It's like go to work, come home, take the bus, go to dinner, go watch your kid's soccer game. There's no fuel. There's no fire. So I think igniting that fire is what's so sexy about what I do, and really pulling out of you what do you want, and that's such a broad statement. However, if we're here for that amount of time that we're here for, why don't we want to live it with, the most grandiose way possible?
Totally agree.
Right?
Totally agree.
And I do. And, I come from, life of the party, but I think for me, I've really traversed more into the more impactful side and understanding that, when I started to focus, which is hard for me, but that was something that I was desiring, was to create a new identity for myself. I've been through a lot, and we'll a lot of that will come out and emerge as we have conversations with others. But that's where the impact is from. So if people they're feeling like they're not where they should be at their age, or they're not living their true sense of life. But just so that we can go, I'm going to go one step deeper. So the first thing that you do, obviously you fill out an assessment when you come into my world, regardless if it's a 90-minute clarity call of any sort, right? And the next step is to fill out a dream worksheet. Now, when I developed, and now I'm kind of giving away my secrets, but when I developed the Dream Life worksheet, I only gave a short paragraph in which you can fill in. And I want to know what you feel, smell, hear when you're living your dream life. So I ask a very carefully curated questions because I'm pulling out of you an essence that you don't know exists. Because if you knew, you'd be doing it. But a lot of people don't know how to push themselves in that direction because, again, they were in the container, they were in the box. Their mother never, or father never made more than $100,000 a year, so that was their glass ceiling, right? They don't know how to break through those barriers. So when some people fill this dream life worksheet out, they stay in that box. But guess what? That box, it expands, but they don't expand it.
Right.
So they literally...
You mean the physical box?
The physical box that they can type in?
If they're typing in.
They're leaving their life to the box that I assigned to them.
Right.
How symbolic is that?
Does anybody?
Yes.
Expand
Some.
it? Okay.
But not enough.
Yeah.
And some of my biggest A players that have made the most money stayed in that box. Which was interesting to me. But that's because most of them exited their businesses. They're on their next pattern. And their identity is still tied to business ownership. They haven't given thought of who they are outside of what they've curated for themselves, what they've developed for themselves. They don't know what to do next. I find that is what leads to mass stuckness, depression, sadness. What's next? And that's why a lot of them have trouble, owning a new identity. So that's really where we are in all of this. I think that it's going to be super exciting to see, how we can affect people, how we can create change, and then what's next for people. It should be the most exciting thing you think about. Right.
Awesome. Well, where do they go to contact you?
So they can go to sandypapavero.com, or they can go to my LinkedIn profile at Sandy Papavero. You can catch me on Instagram at Sandy Papavero, or Burn the Blueprint 2.0, or just my regular Facebook at Sandy Papavero. And leave me a message. I think, we're going to be reaching out to some people. We already have a guest lineup. There is a wait list. If anyone wants to get a position on here and is excited to either tell their story, talk about, some of the struggles that they had and then how they overcame them, or wants to be coached live, we're ready.
Very good. Let's end with another sip here.
Cheers.
Great idea. This was a great idea.
Welcome.
Oh, you already have. All right, you're.
Yeah, while I was talking.
Very good. Cheers, producer.
Cheers.
Cheers. Chingity ching. All right. We'll see you next time. That was great.
Okay, Pappy.
All right, Pappy.
For you, you'll be smoking a cigar by the end.
Very good.